Okay, so number one, I talked to you about how you can shift queue production last time, right? I said you can click this and then you can shift right, left, whatever, you know, and this will help you perhaps dodge obstacles. And you can watch the last video for that. But something I found out since, thanks to one of the fans of the channel, is you can actually do this with monasteries to pick up relics. So for example, you could right click the relic and then you could right click back the monastery and then keep holding shift the whole time, then right click back, and then where's the any more? There's one there, and then right click back. So that means like it takes a little bit of investment, like a, you know, a certain number of seconds in Castle Age, but then you just make one monk and he'll just go and do it and you never have to look back again. Now obviously there's an argument to be made, like should you only make one monk? Maybe you should make 3 monks, you know, one to go for each one. That's fine if you want to, you know, if you want to do that, that's cool. But at least you can still shift queue one relic, right? And then yeah, and I think that's massive game changer for me. I hope it's another game changer for you. Yeah, we'll watch this guy go for a stroll while I tell you the second tip. So the next one I want to tell you is markets. So you might already notice, this might be obvious to you, but as someone who hadn't played Age of Empires and stuff before this, I didn't know this, but you can see when I, for example, sell some food, right? You can see how much gold I'm going to get. I'm about to get 60 gold when I sell 100 food. But you'll notice that that amount of gold that I get goes down the more times I'm pressing the Z button right now. And this is kind of important because when you reach like a late game and you realize you've got like 10k food and 2,000 gold and you want to just mass sell food with Shift Z, you're actually getting way less gold than you would. And I didn't realize this. See, like this guy's on his way from the first tip to see that. So it's like he just does it in the background. It's great. You know, and I didn't realize that. And so one of the things you maybe want to do, like I've put it on my mouse button here, is just all markets, just like it's right next to my all town centers button. And it's just really useful, like maybe now and again, just to tap it, like if you have like too much food. Again, it's because I play a lot of English, so you know you got loads of farms at the end of the game, you got mass food, so maybe you want to sell some of it. Now and again, tap the market, hit Z a few times, and then go back to the fight. You know, carry on, you know, doing the action and all this kind of stuff, and then maybe tap the markets again, sell some more food. You end up, if you do it gradually over time, you end up with much more, is what I'm trying to say. But of course, this isn't always possible. You know, the game can be really chaotic. It's just something to bear in mind if you didn't know about that return on investment reducing over time. You know, like right now, like look, I'm gonna get 10 gold instead of the 60 or whatever that I was supposed to get. And that's terrible. that's a terrible trade. You know, I'm not sure how long it takes for that to refresh. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's like a minute or so. Oh, there we go. Look, it's slowly starting to go up now. I imagine it's about a minute or so. Anyway, just be careful of that because that caught me. And, you know, I had no idea that was the case. Maybe it says it somewhere on the market, but I've never read it anyway. Cool. Number 3. Let's get going. So with 3, I wanted to talk about control groups, and I'm actually going to I'm going to do 3 and 4 at the same time because I've realized that it's hard to talk about one without talking about the other. So something that I've been doing is that I've sort of used the in-game features to be able to use select all infantry button, and so this is in the settings. You can go do it yourself if you want. So you can select all infantry, select all range, select all cavalry, select all siege. There's also select all navy and stuff. This seemed like a good idea when I first did it. This tip is actually not how you do it. I'm actually warning you not to do it. And here's why, or at least be careful. Because I've gone really into the habit of using these buttons ever since I've assigned them. And I use them all the time. And while it can be really helpful to just collect my units from across the map, you know, let's say I've got some guys coming out of, you know, someone's over here, someone's come out of production over here, I have a small fight over here, I want to bring more cavalry into the fight, I want to press the all cavalry button and then bring them in. Easy peasy, right? Come from all over the map. The thing is, like, the more you play, the more that's not actually that good of a strategy. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's a really hard habit to break. And I'm going to just lay out some of the problems with it now. Number 1, all cavalry also brings your scout, which can be pretty inconvenient. Like if you're all cavalry charging into something, your scout's going to die, right? But it's not ideal. It's not ideal. The other thing it does is, and this is kind of probably maybe even the biggest thing, and it's connected to the other tip, which is that select all ranged units is actually not good. Like it's a bad way to control group your units, and that's because crossbows and in archers, they want to target completely different kinds of units. So if you're doing like select all this and you attack moving them or something like that, let's say you're attacking these, fighting these man-at-arms, and let's put a couple, let's put like one bow guy behind or something. Imagine you find this force. You can like attack move into them, and that's like okay, I guess. And what they'll do is they'll all shoot the man-at-arms, and it's good for the crossbows, but your longbows should not be shooting the man-at-arms at the front. You're supposed to micro these to shoot the guy at the back, right? The opponent's archers or the opponent's priest, monk, you know, whatever, some kind of key unit that you're trying to target, precision target, right? So alternatively, you can just, you know, press all infantry and then try and precision target the one at the back, but then that's just wasting the crossbows. So like, I've fallen into this bad habit where I'm playing like that, and I'm really trying to break out of it. And so I recommend you don't use these things, because as you get better and you play better opponents, this stuff becomes like, it's just something you're gonna want to do, and you like in the moment, in the chaos, you just forget and you press it. And one more problem with this is, let's say I've, like, again, as you play more, you do more like cheeky strategies like this. I send 3 knights to some gold or something. Yeah, look how many sheep are on this map, by the way. I send like 3 knights to some gold over here, try harass. But then a fight starts over here, and I'm like, oh no, I need to grab all my guys and go send my cavalry in to fight this army. Well, guess who I've just selected to come all the way back? And I've just, you know, so just be careful of that. That's my tip number 3, but I'm going to fuse it with tip number 4, which is that when you actually are setting your control groups, you want to kind of do it in like a, or at least I'm thinking of doing it in a way of like an attack move group. So let's bring that man-at-arms and these crossbowmen out. I would actually put crossbows and man-at-arms in the same group, and I'll call them my attack moving group. Look, I'm not a god micro player. I can't micro every single unit I've got. So in my brain, I just go the ones that can attack move, and then the ones that need to be precision, which is these longbows. And what that means is basically like, imagine, let's just do this again. Hold on. Imagine there was an army of man-at-arms here, maybe army of crossbow or whatever. The attack move guys you can attack move into man-at-arms and it's okay. Why? Because man-at-arms is just going to run crash into the opponent and keep them busy anyway. But the crossbows, they also just want to shoot the things at the front. And hear me out, because what do crossbows counter? They counter man-at-arms, which is at the front, and knights, which is at the front. So you don't actually need to micro your crossbows, at least not as much, right? Yeah, you can be careful with it. Maybe you'll accidentally shoot some spears. If you're a good enough player, feel free, go for it. But for me, at the moment at least, I'm just one attack move group, just go do your thing. And then, more importantly, you have your precision micro group that you're moving around, you know, attack moving, you know, shoot, move. Maybe you're targeting the key units at the back, you know, the opponent's crossbows so they don't kill your man-at-arms, you know, that kind of thing. And then, of course, if you have any other control groups, that maybe you've got some siege, these will be like your number 3, you know, you want to be careful with that, of course, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's what I'm sort of moving towards. Of course, another thing to remember is there might be multiple fights happening in multiple places. It's an RTS game, that shit happens, right? Let's say there's a fight happening over here and there's a fight happening over here. You know, how can I then click select all infantry to go over there or select all archers? It's just going to completely, it will ruin you if you do this. So this way you can sort of do like, okay, these guys are 1, these guys are my precision ones, these guys are this, and then you can do it again here, like, okay, number 4 is my attack movers, number 5 is my, you know, I'm not saying it's easy, but like, and maybe I'm not even saying it's the best way. I'm just saying it's like a way. And, you know, it works. It's been working for me, of course, if I ever remember how to do it. So, yeah, that's number 3 and number 4. Number 5. Number 5, I want to talk about villagers. This is much more basic and easy. And at the beginning, you spawn with like 6, right? And you're like doing loads of things. Maybe you want to go 2TC, maybe whatever. Just remember to always keep 4 villagers on food. And the reason you want to do that is because you need a minimum of 4 villagers in order to have enough villagers producing. So, you know, 1 villager costs 50 and takes 20 seconds. If you have 4 on sheep, then that is the exact amount you need to be able to get 50 food every 20 seconds. Right? So if so it's like you don't want to go beneath that, otherwise you won't be able to keep producing, which is obviously a disaster in the early game. Well, you always keep producing, but in the early game it's particularly disastrous. So just something to bear in mind. And of course, if you're playing Order of the Dragon, just I don't like to go Civ specific with these videos, but sometimes it's necessary. Order of the Dragon have better villagers, so they only need 3, not 4. So yeah, something to bear in mind. Okay, and number 6. So when you start playing, at least when I start playing, like, you kind of learn like a strat and you do it every game, and that's great and that's fine, you know. And then maybe you learn like a new strat and you change and you start doing that every game. My recommendation, and something that's been helping me at the moment, is you want to learn like maybe 2 or 3 strats like for your civ, so that depending on who you're playing against, you can change. I know this might sound obvious to like more experienced players, but just consider this for a moment. Us casual players like me, I play like 3 games of Age of Empires a week, something like that. You know, if I can find more time, trust me, I'm playing more. But you know, sometimes we just don't have the time. I haven't learned all the civs because you don't see them often. You know, I must have only played like against the Chinese like 5 times ever. You know, I don't even really understand what they do, except one thing that I do understand, which is that they love to boom. They love to go to the late game and they you know, do eco tricks and stuff like that. So my point in this tip is that's kind of all you need to know for now. Just get like a group of civs in your mind and sort of bucket them in. Like, you know, maybe I'll even put something on the screen to help you out. But it's like, generally speaking, in the meta, like if you're playing against Abbasid, they're going to do that 3TC madness. If you're playing against Chinese, they're just going to, you know, they're not going to rush you in the early game. Or at least in my experience, they don't do that very much. So you want a strategy to face off against them. So if you're English, for example, you know you're never going to be able to out-economy civs. That's just not, it's not in your nature. You can't do it. Your civ isn't actually that good with eco. Like, it's good with the farms and that's it. So don't play them in their game. Instead, have an all-in strategy. You probably have, you know, already seen it. You can do like the all-in longbows, council horse stuff, and maybe give that a go as a way to beat them. You just have like that strategy. So you see your opponent, you go, oh, okay. You know, oh, it's one of these guys. In that case, I'm going to go early and try and crush them. Or perhaps it's like the opposite. You know, maybe you're playing against like, I don't know, like French or something. You know they're going to come at you early. So you're like, okay, I have time and maybe space. If I do things right, I can maybe do 2TC, you know, with some, if I go king and I use it to keep them busy, you know, whatever. Like, just have like 2 or even 3, you know, if maybe going against cavalry civs, you want to maybe go cavalry of your own, or, you know, that kind of thing. So just have like, you can, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can bucket civs into groups to make it easier to understand them, and therefore make it easy for you to choose what you're going to do. So you have a few strategies and you want to bucket them into a few groups. Hope that made sense. Feel free to ask in the comments. By the way, if you're enjoying this, I super appreciate a like on the video. As you can see, my channel is very new and early to this stuff, so it would really help to sort of get the word out there, and, you know, maybe other Age of Empires players can find it as well. So yeah, thanks. One more. One more thing. The tip number 7 is related to strategy, and I'm just going to call it the 4D chess tip. Sometimes remember that your opponent is a human being, and you can, the whole point is you're kind of like playing them, and you're trying to, you know, you're trying to outbrain them, right? The one thing that you can possibly like sometimes do, for example with English, is if you make cavalry, which might not seem like very intuitive as English, but just bear with me, right? If you make some cavalry, and there's loads of guides online of better players who can tell you how to do it, and you attack your opponent, what ends up happening is your opponent is like, damn, I need some spears. So like they will react to what you're doing. The spears will counter the cavalry, as I've talked about in a previous video about the counter tree. But this isn't a bad thing, actually, because you already know this is going to happen. So you're going to come in with your bowmen. Where the hell are my bowmen? There they are. You're going to come in with your archers. You know, maybe you're playing a different civ, whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be English. I'm just using that because that's the one I've got on the screen. You've already prepared archers in advance of knowing they're going to have spears. So by the time their spears come out and they think they've got you, no, you've got them. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? So like sometimes think like as part of the strategy tip of the previous one, when you're like, you know, you find some strategies online, you can use like AOEbuilds.com, something like that. So it's when you're picking them, just be like, yeah, just sort of think of that. Like, how is the opponent going to respond if they're getting hit with this? You know, like for example, I guess the classic with the English is to just, you know, spam the longbows and run in. What do you think your opponent's going to do when you're spamming longbows? Well, they're going to make cavalry. They'll come with spears already. You know, like come prepared for that stuff. And it's sort of like that game of thinking ahead is quite useful, you know. And I appreciate that I'm giving like basic examples here, but there are more complex ones too. So you can sort of consider. If you know that your opponent's going to go big archer blobs, if it's looking like that's the way the game's going, get the mangonels out. Show them what's what. Yeah, I know they can shoot your mangonels with their archers, but you're going to do way more damage to them, you know, unless they've got like 50 archers, you've got 1 mangonel, in which case, why do you only have 1 mangonel? But I'm going off topic. I'm sprawling. I'm topic sprawling. I'm going to stop the video there because that's number 7. I hope you found that useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you did. Consider subscribing because I'm going to make more stuff like this. I'm going to jump into Civ specific guides soon. So hopefully you can get some enjoyment out of that as well. And yeah, love you guys.